Coordinator in Political Affairs, Peace and Security Department, and co-convener of the Youth for Peace program at the African Union. Our panelists, Ms. Mugisha, Ms. Manna, Mr. Badru, Mr. Suchit, and colleagues from different UNESCO offices, and ICBA colleagues, Dr. Victoria and Mr. Salu, different participants from different countries. Good afternoon to you, and good morning for some of you, and even good evening for those who have joined us from the other continent like Asia. And welcome to all of you for this online webinar. My name is Jerusalem Admiral from UNESCO ICBA. I am a Peace Education Officer and also moderating this session. This is a part of a series of webinars UNESCO ICBA is organizing every month under the Peace Building, Resilience, and Prevention of Violent Extremism through Education program that we are running for the last 5 years. And I can see some of you are attending these series webinars regularly, and we really appreciate your participations and contributions. And please give us also your comments and your suggestions on how to improve this webinar, and also on the theme which you would like us to engage in the dialogue for the future also. And also, please, you are very much welcome to recommend panelists, and also you are very much welcome to be a panelist in this kind of sessions, because this is a session that we organize to learn from our experience and each other's skills. And the theme for this month is on how to support the agency of learners to be transformative actors, with the focus on highlighting the importance of empowering children and young people to be agents of transformation, discussing on the challenge and the opportunities teachers are facing in the process of encouraging learners in education for peace building, and as well as identifying good practices and strategies for enabling transformative learner-led actions. Today's session will last for 2 hours, and we have 5 presentations, and the presentations will take 1 hour and 10 minutes. Then we will have time for question and answer, which is about 35 minutes. And in between the presentations, please feel free to use the chat section to ask questions and share your reflections and experiences. Mr. Jose and Mr. Nikki will help us on moderating the chat section. And the presentation today is in English, and of course with one Arabic presentation, but there is English, Arabic, and French interpretation available, and hoping that the Arabic interpreters will join us shortly. And for the interpretation, you will find a globe symbol at the right side of your laptop, at the bottom of your laptop, and when you click it, it will give you a channel, and you can pick the language that you want to attend. And in this session will start by the welcome remark from our director, Dr. Emiko Ekozaki, followed by our keynote speaker, Ms. Orit Ibrahim. Maybe to give a brief background about our speakers, Ms. Orit Ibrahim is a coordinator in Political Affairs, Peace and Security Department, and co-convener of the Youth for Peace program at the African Union. She has her master's on peace and security from Addis Ababa University and University of Peace. Ms. Orit has extensive work experience in the AU Peace and Security Department, and she had played a significant role on the establishment of the Continental Early Warning System, which is the main pillar of the African Peace and Security Architect, which we called APSA. And I would like also to say thank you to Ms. Orit for joining us today as a keynote speaker, and also for the effective partnership we have with her and with her team at the AU with the section, the Youth for Peace department. Today, we also have 4 panelists, and our first panelist is Ms. Magusha Anet Kajura, Assistant Commissioner at the Ministry of Education and Sport in Uganda. Ms. Magusha Anet Kajura is a teacher by profession who has specialized in primary teacher education. She has worked as a primary school teacher, tutor in primary teachers' colleges, inspector of schools, and currently at the pre-primary, primary, and secondary teacher training department at the Ministry of Education and Sports in Uganda. She has a grade 3 teacher certificate, diploma in teacher education, bachelor degree in education, Administration and English Language Studies, and as well as she has her master's in Education Management. She is a seasoned national facilitator, has participated in many of the trainings and the development of a number of training materials and curricula for teachers and teacher educators, as well as on the ICPA peace building training programs. And today she will share us her experience, and she will be presenting on the competencies learners need to have through education for peace building and the challenges and the opportunities in our education system to strengthen the learners as agency of transformative actors. And our second panelist is Ms. Menna Mobushab. She's a gender and social inclusion specialist and a member of the Youth for Peace Network of the African Union. She has 10 years of experience in the international development and non-profit sectors with a specific focus on gender equality, women, and youth empowerment. Together with her academic background in engineering, technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship, she has a BSc degree from Alexandria University in Egypt and a master's from German. She works on peace building with vulnerable groups of women, girls, refugees, migrants, IDPs, persons with disabilities, as well as with the youth. And Menna, on her presentation today, will focus on the role of young people in contributing for peace building and how education can support young people to work together as peace builders. Mr. Badru Musepo Mubori is our third panelist, and he's an assistant head teacher of Bogoyo Primary School in Tanzania, and he's a patron of Bangoyo Peace Clubs. He is a certified teacher with a Bachelor of Art in Development Studies, and currently he's pursuing his master's in public administration at Muzabe University. He's an advanced facilitator on strengthening children-led collective action on peace and ending violence. And today he will speak on how we can create spaces and opportunities for learners to be agents of change using peace clubs as a strategy, and as well as the challenges and the opportunities to ensure transformative actions through peace clubs. Our last but not least panelist is Mr. Suchita Biwikram, and he is a program officer on ethics education at the Arigato International and a trainer on regional dialogue, peace building, and conflict transformation with the experience of facilitating training in over 30 countries around the world in the last 18 years. And he's an international trainer of Arigato International's Learning to Live Together program. And he had a background on peace and conflict studies. And I hope many of you know him because he's also our lead facilitator in many of the peace building trainings and the webinars that we are organizing. And today he will focus on why is the paradigm of learners as agent of change is important aspect in the transformative pedagogy, and what does it mean for us, for educators, and how does transformative pedagogy can also contribute to learners' agency and transformative collective actions. So now I will invite Dr. Yumiko Ikozaki, Director to the UNESCO ICPA, for her opening remarks. Dr. Yumiko, thank you for being with us today, as always, of course. And Doctor, the floor is yours for the welcome remark. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Yumiko. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Jerusalem. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good. Very clearly.
Just the internet is not very stable, so my apologies that I will switch off my video. But really, it is a great honor and pleasure to welcome all the guests and the participants to this online webinar on how to support learners to be transformative actors. This webinar is organized under the project called Prevention of Violent Extremism and its Resurgence amid the COVID-19 pandemic through education in Africa, aligned with the spirit of TICAD 7, which is Tokyo International Corporation of Africa Development, and the NAPSA, New Approach for Peace and Security in Africa, supported by the government of Japan. Peace is one of the African Union's priorities. Aspiration 4 of the Agenda 2063 emphasizes that the culture of peace and tolerance shall be nurtured in Africa's children and youth through peace education. African youth and the children are, however, at the risk of violence and extremism in many forms and manifestations. The factors that push and pull young people into or out of extremism and violence are rooted in a complex social, political, economic, and educational dynamics. For those reasons, UNESCO's peace-building efforts focus heavily on children and youth, their empowerment, and there is no better place than schools, higher education institutions, and youth organizations to address a large number of young people. Peace education has the potential to transform our schools and universities by inspiring and equipping young people to learn to live together with resilience and peaceful intentions. Instead of seeing our children and young people as inferior in capacity or just dependent, we should consider them as persons with dignity, and they are agents to contribute to peace building and social transformation. Acting with dignity and respect towards learners involves believing in their potential, respecting their views and their choices and decisions, as well as not making assumptions about how they want to be treated. It is important to work in partnership with children and young people with care and compassion through empowering approaches. We should see them as active agents in society, understanding that they need to be actively involved in building the future world they will live in. Child participation is one of the core principles of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which asserts that the children and young people have the right to freely express their views and that there is an obligation to listen to children's views and to facilitate their participation in all matters affecting them within their families, schools, local communities, public services, institutions, government policies, and even judicial procedures. In this year and last year, we have seen a lot of young people very actively involved, for instance, in the climate change. It wasn't the government and the scholars and academics, but it was young people who brought the world attention. So we must never underestimate the power of the young people. And this means we need to see their meaningful participation in peace building as an important pillar that we facilitate through education. The heart of our work as UNESCO ICBA in promoting transformative pedagogy has been to support this transformation in our education systems. We have seen that when empowered with transformative pedagogical approaches, teachers have been able to build a more cohesive relationship with learners, parents, and the communities at large. Many countries are aiming to reach that objective, and we look forward to working with you in that journey. Your contributions will be crucial in the development of this evidence-based practice that can be replicated in schools, universities, teacher training institutions, and other educational institutions. Finally, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the panelists, participants, as well as to the government of Japan for funding this project. I look forward to the outcomes of our discussions, which I am sure will be very fruitful and practical. Thank you very much again in advance for your participation, and I hope we all enjoyed this webinar. Thank you very much. Back to you, Dr. Yerusalem.
Thank you very much, Director Yumiko. Thank you very much for the warm welcome and for reminding us to consider the children and youth in our education system. And thank you very much. And now, colleagues, thank you very much. Also, today I can see that our mics are muted, and thank you very much. This really helps us to have a harmonious kind of discussion and platform. Thank you very much, and please keep on muting your microphone off when you are not speaking. And also for better connectivity, you can put your camera off. So whenever you speak, you can put both the microphone and the camera on if you have better connectivity. Thank you very much. And I invite Ms. Orit Ibrahim for the keynote. And Ms. Orit, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerusalem, for giving Y4P the chance to speak. And good afternoon, Dr. Yumiko, Director, UNESCO Institute for Capacity Building in Africa. Good afternoon, distinguished panelists and participants. On behalf of AU Youth for Peace Africa program, I would like to thank UNESCO ICPA for continuous engagement and partnership in organizing different trainings for youth, and particularly for organizing this important web agency of the learners to be transformative.
والذي سوف يشاهد في أن
I'm given to talk about the role of education in empowering young people to peace builders and how the AUI4P can create an opportunity for young people to engage on peace building. As we all know, the importance of the role of education in empowering young people to be peace builders is obviously crucial, as it helps the young people to learn new skills and critical thinking, identify positive role models, and manage conflicts in a non-violent manner. A lack of peace education and training for youth can complicate and challenge sustainable. Hello?
Yes, please go ahead, Orit. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Okay. In order to empower young people to be peace builders through education, it is important to establish responsible institutions which are able to educate and train young generations to develop resilience, express themselves, and discuss their interests and needs. But before we go even there, I would like to highlight some points in regards to the AU Youth for Peace agenda. Over the years, the AU policy organs have adopted normative and policy frameworks to create opportunities for young people to engage and enhance participation in socio-economic and political spheres. Specifically, the 1981 African Charter on Humans and People's Rights under Article 13 recognized every citizen's right to participate freely in the government of his country. This right is reaffirmed by the 2006 African Youth Charter under Article 11 and 17, which provides for every young person's right to participate in all spheres of life, including in peace and security areas. Also, other instruments such as the 2007 Africa Charter on Democracy, Election and Governance, and the recent policy document, which is Agenda 2063, are enabling factors for the realization of youth engagements in the political sphere. However, despite the existence of these frameworks, the engagement of youth in peace and security has remained insufficient, with limited concrete reforms or sustainable practice. In 2018, the AU Peace and Security Department launched Youth for Peace Africa program and subsequently finalized the Continental Framework for Youth, Peace and Security, which provides the opportunity for youth to engage and participate meaningfully in peace and security issues. The Continental Framework, which serves as a normative guidance for engagement between the AU Commission, the regional economic communities, member states, and youth, is not a standalone framework, but rather it's anchored on existing framework and policies such as the Africa Youth Charter and the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2250 of December 2015. So what makes the Continental Framework different from the other frameworks, some may ask? And this framework is presented and adopted by the highest decision-making organ, which is the AU Peace and Security Council, and its 10-year implementation plan. The 10-year implementation plan is also based on the 5 main priority areas in line with Article 11 and 17 of the AU's Charter and UNSCR 2250. Just to name the priority areas, part one is participation, the second is prevention, third, protection, fourth is partnership and coordination, and the last one is disengagement and reintegration. Well, I don't want to take you guys to the details of all this, the 5 priority areas, but I just want to highlight what the AU Youth for Peace Africa program is doing by creating an opportunity for young people to engage on peace building. So as I mentioned earlier, the Continental Framework and its 10-year implementation plan is the guiding principle for youth engagement on peace and security. Since its launching, we have been engaged with so many activities and initiatives, but in order to create an opportunity for young people to engage in peace and security, I would like to give you some few highlights. One is a capacity building. Capacity building by enhancing the peace building knowledge and skills of young people. Although most young peace builders create positive impact with minimal resource and knowledge, it's important to provide them with the tools they need to become more effective in peace building. So access to education is fundamental for facilitating young people's positive engagement in peace. As such, the AU through Y4P, Youth for Peace Africa program, which we call it Y4P in short, is building the capacity of young people through dedicated trainings, skills and knowledge on formal peace and security initiatives at the regional and continental level. For example, these trainings could be on conflict prevention, early warning, mediation, or even sensitization programs on the AU post-conflict reconstruction and security sector reform policies. The capacity building program and trainings are not only provided by the AU, but also provided by different stakeholders at the regional level. And this is also one of the partnership we have with the UNESCO ICPA. And the 10-year implementation plan also made provision to support the review of educational curriculum to include peace education and transmit values and skills that foster critical thinking, pluralism, coexistence, and peace. And similarly, this framework also have a provision for the development of Continental Toolkit or peace education guidelines and advocacy for the implementation in formal and informal school spaces. The second area that we are, the second opportunity that we are, the Y4P is creating is to create safe space for youth to express their opinions. Creating safe space for young people where they can come together, express themselves and participate in decision-making is vital in allowing young people to share their experience of conflict and their work towards achieving a more peaceful Africa. The Continental Framework also identified that youth groups have limited visibility and are poor integrated and represented in formal peacebuilding processes. So this includes limited participation of youth group in peace talks, peace support operations, election observation missions, humanitarian reliefs, and post-conflict reconstruction programs. There are very limited space for young people or youth-led initiatives in other official peace and security programs implemented at the national, regional, or continental level. After the launching of Youth for Peace Africa program, the program advocated for an open session of the Peace and Security Council meeting, which comes every year in November. And the first one being held in 2019, the Y4P program brought together a number of young people across the continent to attend the first meeting. This is just before COVID. And as part of efforts that Youth for Peace Africa program, engaging youth as social actors with their own views and contributions, a young peace advocate from Cameroon presented a message drafted by young people to the Peace and Security Council. This was also in line with the creation of space for youth to express their opinion to decision makers and broaden society to ensure that they have the opportunity to be heard. Nowadays, youth voices in peace building are present everywhere, but sometimes it's not recognized. For this, Youth for Peace Africa program created a WhatsApp group of young people who are working on peace and security areas to share information, and this will be like a peer-to-peer access to network. The third point which I would like to share is promote intergenerational dialogue. And in an effort to promote peace and security in the continent with young people involvement, creating a space to have an intergenerational dialogue between young people and older generation is very important. Intergenerational dialogues create shared knowledge and a collective experience and helps to better understand each other and ultimately address challenges that young people face concerning peace and security in their region. Under this initiative, Youth for Peace, in collaboration with international partners, have been creating the space for intergenerational dialogues. And we've been doing this recently with ACOR. And we have intergenerational dialogue every Friday of the first, the first Friday of the month. And so we are left with now 2 intergenerational dialogue for those of you who are interested. The first Friday of November and first Friday of December. The last one, but not least, is the support to youth activities. If we want to create an opportunity for young people to engage in peace and security, it is important to support youth who are actively and positively contributing to their communities. And the Continental framework also aims to support youth and youth-led organizations in their effort to carry out peace and security initiatives. As such, the Youth for Peace Africa program has been supporting youth-led organizations in implementing their activities across the continent. And so I think these are the areas which I wanted to share with you. If there is any question regarding the Continental framework or its 10-year implementation plan or the Youth for Peace Africa program on how the AU creates an opportunity for young people to engage on peace building and peace and security areas, you can ask me after this. Over to you, Yersalim. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Orit. And I can imagine that people have a lot of questions for you, but we will come back to the question and answer by the end of the presentations. Thank you again for explaining the AU agenda, which is also the concern for all of us as a member state and also as an agencies, say UN and international agencies working on the area of peace and security, as well as on the area of youth. And thank you for ensuring to us and for showing us how young people are also engaged on peace building and preventing violence in African continent. And thank you very much. Colleagues, you can put your questions or suggestions on the chat section. And thank you, Orit. And I will pass to Ms. Magusha, our first panelist. And Annette, we are very much happy to have you today. And you have 15 minutes to present. And I leave the floor for you. Thank you, Annette, for joining us today.
Thank you, Dr. Jerusalem.
Thank you.
Jerusalem, can I share? Can you stop sharing? I share.
Okay, great, no problem. Suchit, Nikki, can she share?
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah,
if you go ahead
you.
and try that now, there shouldn't be any restrictions.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Director Dr. Yumiko. Good afternoon, colleagues. nice listening to you after a long time and having to share. And so good to know that we are all still alive. Keep safe by abiding onto the SOPs. Now that's my name, Anet Mugisha. I work with the Ministry of Education and the Teacher Education Department in Uganda. And because of internet issues that may interrupt our presentation, I request that I remove the video and then we can keep together. We are talking about peace building, and we are saying that for everyone to be happy, just beginning from us as an individual, there is need for one to know what to do, and we also need what peace is, to know what peace building is. If you don't know what peace building is, you can't help anyone. You cannot help the people around you, and even yourself, you can't help yourself. So I tried to say, what do people think peace building is? As you all may have found, they tell you that peace building does not have a specific definition that one can give, that this is the definition of peace building. Because even when you look at yourself, if you know what you call peace, some people will say peace building is peace is when I have money. So if you want to build peace with me, you must help me to have. So a number of authors define peace building in different ways. Some say it is guidelines to avoid conflicts with people that you stay with. Others say it is measures put in place to consolidate peace building through the issues of politics. That means such a people think it is only that one that is related to politics. But how do we come to this? We start from other sides before we reach politics. Others call peace building creating a situation that keeps people together, and others call it creating an environment that does not bring conflict among the people that live together with others around them. What do we need to do to support our learners? We need to focus on competencies. And which competencies? What is it that we want this learner to have that we think can help him to be our agent in building peace? We need to develop the competencies, and one of it that I thought that is critical in the life of a learner is critical thinking. When we talk about critical thinking, we are saying the learner needs to be helped in so many ways. We also need to help the learner increase knowledge and self-awareness. At the same time, the other area that we need to focus on as we look at the learner is to help him to be a good listener, so as to be able to identify the causes of conflicts. We are saying when you are developing the critical thinking competence in a learner, there are a number of things you need to look at. But before you go anywhere, we need to make this learner know that he should think, he or she needs to think before he acts. Many things, when you look at all these conflicts that we have in our continent, they happen because people don't think about what they are doing and the impact of what they are doing, what it has on the neighbors, on the next person, even you as a person, because you have had people who kill others and die with them, beat others and they're also beaten and die. So we need to help the learner to learn how to think critically. We need to help the learner also to get knowledge of all these things that are around us, and above all, to know himself or herself. If you don't know yourself, it's going to be difficult to know about your neighbor. You need to know how do you live with others? Are you bad? Are you not bad? And if you are bad, what is it that you can do to be good? Some learners take themselves as ugly people, others take themselves as harsh people. Now, after you have evaluated what you are, how do you combat yourself to fit in the situation around you? You are in a class, you are going to be learning with others. You are at home, you are with siblings and parents, you are in the community with all these people. You must be helped to know yourself so that now you know the space that is remaining around you. How are you going to use it so that you don't cause conflict to the neighbors? Therefore, you need that time to sit and look at yourself inside, not outside. And then when you finish looking at yourself inside, look at yourself outside. Stand in a mirror and know what your strength is, know what your weakness is, and then you will be happy. You can see that this person, this child, this you or myself, after you have reached this level, you are now discovering who you are, and you know how you'll fit in your class, how you'll fit at your job, how you'll fit in your community, and how you'll fit in your home. And therefore, you'll be able to have this home here where we are living together and there is peace. Now, you also need to help the learner to know how to find out the causes of conflicts. You will never find a cause of conflict if you are not ready to listen. You need to learn to listen to your colleagues when they are telling you there is this problem. You need to learn to listen to someone who is explaining to you the problem. Many times we jump and beat others or quarrel with others and report some issues which are not there because we did not listen. And also say that best communicators in the whole world are the good listeners. If you don't know how to listen, if you don't know how to take time and listen to your neighbors, it will be very difficult to communicate correctly. What challenges do we find out in this education of ours? First of all, there is a lot of coping things, cultures, and other things that learners themselves don't know. Even now, sometimes even us big people, we don't know. A learner looks at somebody is putting on something, maybe it is on the finger. He doesn't know that that is a ring that shows that someone is married. He doesn't know that in that finger, the ring that is there that means that he is engaged. Now, if you don't know what these things are, and you start doing them or quarreling with a friend, why are you putting on this one? Then conflict starts there. Attitudes towards different people, different culture, different region. If you don't understand a culture, and if you have a bad attitude on a certain culture, then you're not going to relate well with that neighbor. It ends up causing conflict. Thinking that they are still young. Many times we say, why don't you let this child do this? No, this is still young. They are not yet responsible. And by the time you wake up, they are too old to be told, don't do this. At that time, you are thinking they are young. Now they are too old to be told. Lack of critical thinking. You never analyze anything. One just dashes to take an action. And after an action has been taken, many times it is like when you break a glass, when you spoil a milk, you can't change it. You find we are in these situations that you see. Failure to know yourself or the world therefore, because when you don't know yourself, it becomes difficult to know the world around you, the people you are with, who are they and how they should be handled. Then failure to walk the talk. The people we see, we are supposed to admire, many times they are not easy to be our example. What they say is not what they do. So it confuses the learner. And at the end of it all, they leave it all. They never listen to anybody. One wakes up, you say, don't do this, he doesn't want to listen. Or if it is a teacher, you'll find that this teacher doesn't want to listen. Every time we want to explain to this teacher, says, no, excuse me, can you listen to me? So the learners look at you as somebody who always wants to be listened to, but you don't want to listen to their issues. But what opportunities do you have? We have the leadership that supports the development of peace values in most of our countries. Our leaders, especially in Uganda, we are told, learners are told in class, they are told the importance of peace values, why you should live with your neighbor very well, and why you should share well. We have cultural and religious values in our families. Very much told every day, it's good to respect a neighbor. It's good to stay with some neighbors with you without conflicts. Try to solve issues around the house without taking them out of the house. We also have teacher educators trained in peace building. So they are able to support the learners if they are supported and given sensitization all the time. They also have transformative pedagogy, a pedagogy that helps learners to work together, share materials, do activities together. We also have aspects of peace building that are integrated in the curriculum. And we think all that can help develop a peaceful learner that will help our country and at the end of it all, our continent to live in peace. Thank you. Asante. Yobalenyo. Merci. Back to you.
Asante
Dr.
sana, Annette. Asante sana, and thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. And it's just on time. So, in order not to create any delay, I will pass the floor to our second panelist, Miss Menna. Menna, the floor is yours, and thank you for accepting the invitation to be with us today.
العزيزة دكتور يرسلام، شكرا جزيلا على التقديم وأيضا شكرا على الدعوة الكريمة. اسمحوا لي
warm invitation. Let me share my screen and I will just switch off my video because I have also some internet glitches. So sorry for this. So just to follow with the presentation, I will switch off my video. So, as being stated by Dr. Yerusalem, that we are here today to talk about the roles and contributions of youth in the African continent. And also, as it's being stated, that for the rights of youth and security and peace building. Let me just start to talk about the rights governed by the international and continental regulations for youth, for decision-making processes and peace-building processes. And also, as it's been stated earlier, to identify the Security Council 2025 resolution for the Continental Framework for Youth and the definition for this on 2019-2022. Also, we have the African Youth Charter 2016. So these rules support having the youth in the decision-making process along with the decision makers and peacemakers inside their countries. Also, we have the Continental African Agenda 2063 objectives, the 17 objectives also for 2030, and focusing on the 16th Joe, which has the fair and justice and strong institutions. In addition to the silence of guns that's been launched in a campaign to get silenced within 2022. Also, the AU envoy has Ms. Aya Shabi for youth has stated in April 2019 a campaign for 1 million that targeted the participation of youth along with the decision maker process and policy makers in relation to the governments for peace building organizations also to dissolve and settle the disputes and conflicts. Also, we have some other national strategic plans on the national levels that adopted the notion of the contribution of peace and security and peace building. All of these international or even continental regulations, they guarantee the participation of youth, in addition to the fact that they also ensure their rights for protection and security while they are conducting their activities for the peace building and for the dialogue conduction inside their communities. And in regards to the role and contributions of youth, and due to the fact that I believe that not just being a member from the youth and AU youth and peace building network, but also expert in all of the social communities on the national level Egypt, I believe that we have programs as CSOs, which is called as informal and non-official education programs, which is in line with the formal and official education programs. Actually, we see that we maybe lack this kind of education programs that works on building education and that adapt the concepts by which we empower the youth and give them this leadership required principles by which they can have the ability to peace building processes. So the CSOs usually play great and pivotal role in designing programs in compliance with the curriculum. Those programs targeting the fact that after the end of the academic year, to have some programs, whether by the universities or by even schools in various stages, they explore the potential leaders of the youth that could be considered as peacemakers and that could be empowered as also people of change and advocates of change inside their communities. Also through these non-official educational programs for peace building, we usually find that the organizations led by youth, they usually work on the shared experience or what we call the knowledging of the peers. This is by the peace building clubs or maybe through the various competitions that are adopting the notions of finding sustainable resolutions for various conflicts and tensions on the ground. So undoubtedly, we cannot really deny the role of the organizations led by youth calibers. Also, there are some non-official or non-registered organizations that we call as the initiative or the youth initiatives by which the volunteers can just conduct inside some communities on a very limited level, which we call the local or grassroots levels. Those groups usually work on solving and settle down the disputes. They actually play a great role because they work on participating the youth in the usual sessions. And such sessions, they used to be very closed and limited sessions inside the communities where the communities used to have their elderly and the mayors and the leaders and just exclude youth as well as women when it comes to facilitating dialogues and the moderation. So I actually attended maybe some exercises in Sudan where we got participation of youth in some of those sessions by a group of volunteers. And I also attended the attendance for such sessions in the south and north of Sinai in Egypt. And as you know, such communities are very closed on cultural level. So to include the youth in such sessions to moderate for peace building is considered to be some of those programs accompanied by the non-official program for education led by these CSOs and youth. Also, the official education plays a great role in exploring the capabilities of youth as peace makers inside their communities. Some of these roles played by youth. Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Salam. من هذه الأدوار التي يقوم بها
Well, so some of those roles played by the roles are these kind of activities exploring the capabilities of the peacemakers. And as I stated previously, that these activities, they might have some of those people that who actually do not know that they have the capability to lead the peace building activities. So these kind of activities explore the new capabilities and to acknowledge new capabilities that can build peace inside African communities. Also, the activities accompanied to the official education, or these that we can call as non-official activities, help youth to acquire the skills just as the facilitation, settle disputes, the management of disputes, and the dialogue for the principles of tolerance and peace, and for constructing and the citizenship on the various levels inside the communities. Also, the activities for the non-official education programs, they usually fill the gap that we face as youth in Africa, which is the lack of connectivity and the lack of networking by which we can share experiences among youth and raising awareness of our peers. So actually, the non-official activities, or what we call non-official programs, usually help networking to have sustainable solutions for dispute settlement. So when we talk about also the activities of such programs, we have here to mention anonymously about the education of the gender equity, especially when it comes to whether official or non-official educational programs. For sure, this is very sensitive idea, because usually girls, they suffer having this doubled and duplicated, the marginalized levels that we see. As we said, for instance, for the sessions that we usually have in our very closed communities, we find that women cannot even get out of their houses without having male accompanied with them. Also, there is no understanding for the involvement of girls in these sessions, which actually can have great role. So here why we say that these programs help women and empower women, not just in acknowledging their capabilities, but also to get out of this traditional and misunderstanding for the social roles. And this is by spreading the gender equity ideas by which we can bridge the gaps and build dialogues to have our women and girls acquire better skills by their peers and counterparts, also to create dialogues for the intro-gender dialogue, where we can share experiences from peer to peer, for the knowledging purposes. And in another word, we involve women in some sessions led by men to better get them tangible skills, and also to have a better understanding and dialogue, and to share interpersonal traits that they may haven't acquired before due to the suffering that they used to have for this bias towards women. I do not want to take too much of your time. I think I have already dived into this, and thank you so much for this opportunity you gave to me. Dr. Yusleim, now the floor back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manna. Thank you for bringing your experience on the engaging the community, and as well as the aspect of gender. Thank you very much. Now I give the floor for Mr. Badru. Mr. Badru, the floor is yours. Thank you. Thank you for accepting the invitation also for this webinar, Mr. Badru. Hello, Mr. Badru, can you hear us? Hello? Hello, Mr. Badru? Okay, I can see from the chat that he has a problem of connectivity. Maybe I will give the floor for Suchi to present first, and then Mr. Badru will join as a later on. And Mr. Bertrou, maybe you can log out and connect again, so that, and make also sure that the microphone is working. And once he's settling that one, I will leave the floor for Suchit for his presentation. Suchit, are you ready?
Yes, thank you very much. Let me quickly share my screen.
Yeah, and colleagues also, please feel free to share your question in the chat, and please mention also for whom you are directing your questions. And thank you, Suchit.
Thank you, Dr. Yerusalem, and thank you everyone who has joined us today for this webinar. And we are talking about an important topic, the agency of learners. How do we recognize the agency? How do we support the agency to be transformative actors in society? I recalled a favorite poem of mine from Khalil Gibran that says, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not for you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow." The world 50 years from now, 30 years from now, is the world our children will inherit. That world we will not experience, most likely. We will not be there with them. And we need to make sure that they have a role in building that world, and that they are not just being told what to do, but they have an active role in with this. In fact, sometimes we think that it's a privilege we give, that we, by giving them opportunities, we are giving them a privilege. But in my case, I think it's important to recognize that it's in fact a right. We have recognized that right in the CRC, as Dr. Yumiko earlier mentioned. The Convention on the Rights of the Child says that children should have the opportunity to express their views and be heard, influence decisions that matter to their own life. And I think it goes beyond just influencing and being heard, but also to contribute meaningfully. The right to participate is very important. I wanted to jump to a practical example at the very beginning of the presentation and then come to the ideas behind it. This is an example from Kenya, in an area of Kenya called Tana River, where we led a pilot program with 13 different schools. And as part of that pilot program over a year and a half, we had initially 12 lessons conducted as part of the life skills classroom lessons. And then there was also a component of a child-led project, a learner-led project at the end. So 12 lessons, and then building up to a project that is run by the children. And at the end, after the projects have been implemented, we also had a celebration to showcase their achievements and invite the community at large. I wanted to highlight one of the projects that children led here, of course, with the support of the teacher. This area in Tana River was one of the areas that was affected by the post-election violence in Kenya. And this is an area with pastoralists and farmers. And often, you know, across Africa, these tensions between the pastoralist communities and the farming communities exist. And then there is cattle rustling, there is attacks on each other, and violence erupts, especially when elections come. These tend to become more aggravated, or if there is dry seasons, this becomes more violent times in these areas. So the pilot program that we ran, the Ministry of Kenya decided to run it in this area because this community had experienced this violence after the elections, and they wanted to build the support system for the children in the area. They had gone through the lessons, talked about the issues in the community, and thought of what can they do about these things. And at the end, when they were invited to run a project, what they did want to do was to bring back their friends. The friends who had left their school because of the conflict. Because of the ethnic difference, some had to leave the school and never cross the river again because they are the two communities that fought and had violence against each other. Children led the initiative of peace building to bring the missing friends back to school. They were one of the first groups to cross the river after the conflict has taken place. Example of child-led actions, not just at the level of taking a small initiative in the classroom, but making a real difference in their society, bridging the relationship between two divided communities. So how do we make sure this high quality learner-led actions take place? I think in order to do that, we need to really recognize the agency of our learners. We need to start believing in their potential to transform themselves and contribute to the transformations in their communities. If we don't believe it, we won't allow that space for them. I think that belief in seeing that potential in our learners, not them just as doing the homework and coming back and sitting for the exams and getting results. We need to see something beyond that when we see our learners, and that's important. We also need to relate to them horizontally. If we think we are the source of power, if we think we are the source of transformation, if we think we are the source of knowledge, then it's very difficult to allow and recognize agency in our learners, because we make the decisions, we make the conditions. But when we have a more horizontal relationship, when we are able to relate to our learners in a horizontal way, then we can recognize, no, they can also come up with solutions. They can make decisions that are important as well. And it doesn't have to be me as the teacher making all the decisions. So this horizontal relationship can unleash, give the freedom to even the teacher or the educator in us to look at things in a different way. We also need to make sure that they feel safe. This is not usually part of our culture. So it's a cultural difference. Our culture, most of the time, children are told to do what they have been assigned. That's the typical culture we have. Not many places they are used to being asked for solutions and asked to lead solutions in meaningful ways. So this is a cultural change that we need to make sure that they feel safe to do. Otherwise, they might worry when they are given opportunities, and you might feel discouraged and trying to give them the opportunity, but they are not taking these opportunities on. So it's a cultural shift, and we need to do it in ways that they feel encouraged and safe and not put on the spot and under pressure. It's also important that we recognize that they have experiences. They have seen what happens around them when there is violence. They saw that they have their own experience of how different community members maybe attacked each other, or what happened, their own narratives, what they see on the news, what they read, what they hear from the other community members. All of these is there. And we need to recognize, if we are to recognize that they have the potential to do something, their life experience. At the same time, we also need to recognize that they have passions, they have skill sets, they have some interest. So if there is a child with very passionate about music, how do we build on that passion that they have and bring it as part of the solution to some of the challenges we face? So not just trying to build from our orientation, building from their own interest and what they are good at, whether it's arts, drawing, music, sports, whatever can be a source of entry point to this work as well. We also need to create those aha moments, that moments when children and young people have profound experiences that make them look at the world differently. I think that's a key objective in education for peace building. If we need to create those moments that their perspectives change, their worldview is challenged, and they start to listen to different ways of looking at the world. We need to create opportunities for them to listen to the voices of others, people from other communities and other belief systems, other cultural backgrounds, so that they have this global perspective while also being grounded in the local situation. Then it's important to also tap into this imagination that children and young people have. They have the potential to look at and dream and see a new reality. And that's important. As I said, the world 30 years from now, 50 years from now is the world for them. We can't even imagine it. They can. And we need to create that space for them to imagine how they want it to be. And that's very important. We need to also help them work together. Sometimes our educational processes are very competitive, and we are used to competing and not necessarily working together towards solving problems in society. So this collaborative style of learning, collaborative problem-solving orientation is very much important if we are to tap into the agency of our learners. It's not just the individual agency, it's the collective agency of these children and young people. So all of this for me is also a move from a deficit-based approach, that they are a glass half full that needs to be filled, rather recognizing that there is something already there. There's skills, there's knowledge, there's life experience already there. How do we unleash them, that potential to make a transformation in our society? Understanding, then to support them by building their critical thinking, dialogue, empathy, their sense of responsibility, solidarity with those who are suffering, their reflection on ethical issues, and then ability to work together to take collective actions. All of these competencies that Annette also earlier talked about, how do we strengthen these conditions so that their agency is put into practice. And often a bit of a challenge is what sort of opportunities then we create. We think sometimes we are creating participatory opportunities for children and young people, but often they are not. We organize a festival, we ask them to come and sing the songs and do the dancing, and we think that's participation. So in this idea of a ladder of participation I'm sharing here, the levels of participation, what actually are we doing with our children and young people? Are we just putting them up as manipulating them to do what we want? We want them to be at the front and put on a garland in the festival when the minister comes to the celebration event? Or do we want them to just dance and sing? Or do we, just because we want to have a token representation, we put an organizing committee for the event and we put one child there as a token representation of children's participation? These are not really participation. Participation calls us to do meaningful participation. And that requires us to work in hand in hand with children and young people, make sure that they understand what we are talking about, that their skills are built, they feel comfortable, they are consulted in what we want to do, their opinions are brought into the process, and they are given opportunity to lead also, and ideally in a shared leadership with adults as well. So this higher level of participation is important to strive for, and not just be satisfied at a lower level of participation, often that we are limited to. I often see too many times peace building activities in a peace club becomes just planting trees or cleaning the environment. It can be that, but it can be much more as well. Our role also has to be to support learners to look at the ethical challenges around them. Putting their agents into practice is when they are passionate to see the problems and they bring solutions to those. I think that's for me the height of putting their agency into practice, that they are able to work on real life problems and respond to those collectively. To do this, we need to make sure learning is not happening in a vacuum, that what is happening in the society is brought into the learning spaces. If there is elections, if there's a drought or a climate issue, if there is another type of conflict, that we do create the space for learners to talk about it, engage about it. When the pandemic is going on, we need to talk about the effects of the impacts of the pandemic and not ignore the society and just stick to the timeline of the curriculum that we have, which often is not time responsive, not responsive to the current context. We also need to ensure, as I mentioned about these spaces for dialogue, introspection, reflection, recognize that there is also a whole person with emotions, ideas, values, reflections. So recognizing them and bringing all those into the learning experience. Often we oversimplify things. We say this is how it is, but rather ask them, no, what are the different alternative narratives that are out there? How can it be different? How does different communities talk about this issue? And invite them to consider these different narratives. So rather than a single narrative approach, engage in a multiple narrative approach in how we encourage reflections and thinking. There's many opportunities for us to encourage ethical reflections and actions. The pandemic itself has so many ethical issues, the social distancing and the safety of others, the caring for those who are vulnerable, the isolation that happens with the pandemic and the impact that it has, and how do we support those who feel isolated, and the sense of community that's needed in this. There's an increase in domestic violence among our societies during this period. There's a lot of inequalities during the pandemic that has exacerbated the inequalities. There's also stigma and xenophobia, especially against minority communities, and sometimes they're accused of being the ones who spread the virus. These are ethical challenges that are there. These are real-time issues. They're real-life issues. How do we encourage young persons to also do something in their own community to tackle these issues? I think if we can create those spaces, those are really meaningful opportunities to recognize their agency as well. Lastly, I want to highlight that when they start to work and put their ideas together, we also need to take a backstage and give them the ownership of the process, but also support them. Sometimes it's to organize them, help them organize themselves, divide the task that they need to achieve towards the big goal they have, or to help them create teams and divide the responsibilities along the teams, or create structures in the school or in the learning institutions like peace clubs that become a structure for them to implement their ideas. All of these are very important. We also need to support them then in negotiating and working with the community. Often when children and young people start to approach the community, there is a sense of rejection. Who are you to come and talk to us? You are still young people. You should be doing your activities in school. You are not here to, you shouldn't be talking to us about the problems of adults. And we need to help shift that mindset and bring the community as stakeholders and partners in the process. So getting the buy-in, and then also helping young people to secure the resources. If they have an idea they want to implement, they might need resources. So how can we engage maybe local businesses, the local community organizations to infuse the resources that the young people need in order to run with their idea? And so throughout that process, it's to be that mentor, to be that coach, that is a supportive, accompanying person, rather than the one in the front of the bus driving the whole thing. To wrap things up, we through this program have been—
You have 2 minutes.
Yes, to wrap things up, talking about transformative pedagogy, and that's the highlight of this program. And this is the intention of transformative pedagogy. Transformative is for us to unleash that potential in learners, to see their potential to make a difference in our society. So all the different things that I've talked about, the context sensitivity, bringing that context into the classroom in sensitive ways, creating a safe learning environment, a whole school and community approach, bringing the community and school, not just the classroom activity. Think of the whole school, the disciplining, the administration. They have the right to be involved in that, in the engagement of the social issues of the community. They have the right to be involved. So advocating and making those connections. And it also highlighted the importance of walking the talk, the role modeling we need to do, the participatory and collaborative approaches we need to put together to enable young people to come up with solutions. And then lastly, supporting those projects, not just small activities, but meaningful initiatives that they can work together to transform their communities. So this is the vision of transformative pedagogy, and I hope this is a useful vision that we can carry to all educators that we work with. Thank you very much, Jerusalem, for the time. I'm returning the floor back to you.
Thank you, Suchita. I know that you are very much passionate when it comes to learner-led action, so I couldn't keep you short. So, but thank you very much. Thank you for the detailed explanation. And now I think Badru is with us now. And Badru, the floor is yours for your presentation. And you have 15 minutes maximum.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I've got a problem of network now. On my side, I want to talk about how do you create space and opportunity for learners to be agents of change through the Peace Club. Could you, Mr. Sunchi, share my webinar, please?
Nikki, would you be able to share the slides for Mr.?
Yes, slides, yes. Yeah. So, first of all, we create a safe and supportive environment for children and youth to learn together with the adults. You know, sometimes adults, they have come up with ideas of making things to be happen for the children. And sometimes we as the teachers, we don't also invite the adults to come and help us, as you see in the picture there. And members of the Peace Club Also, we create awareness activities to prevent violence against children. So sometimes they come up and air out their views about the prevention of children violence. There's also about development the skills and make positive contribution to school environment. For example, in our school, we together with our children, we made recycle house made of plastics, bottles, and of course, all those processes have been done with the kids themselves, except on the part of the roof, whereby the other persons came and helped us. We also create a leadership skills for children to work on their own economic activities. The children, for example, we have a school garden whereby they're cultivating flowers and vegetables, as you can see it in the pictures. Can you go to the picture of the slide number 5? Slide number 5. Number 5 slide. Yes, as you can see in the picture there, the children, they cultivating flowers with the garden within the school peace club. We're also promoting slide number 6. We're promoting girls' leadership skills in the peace club. This is brought positive change. More girls are now becoming leaders in the student council. They're about 63%, and they are doing very well. So we encourage them, even the girls, to be the leader in the student councils. In the slide number, children and the youth encouraged for active participation in the decision they made. For example, our school, Bongoyo Primary School, is near to the Coco Beach. So one day we were learning about the importance of the cleaning of the beach. Then the members of the Peace Club, they come up with the idea, but at least a month they go there and clean the Coco Beach. So they are doing monthly to clean the Coco Beach. And allow children to discuss their own challenge and come up with a possible solution. That's the opportunity we are doing for the children. And this has happened because in our schools, there was no provision of morning meals. So some students, they are coming from the poor family, they cannot eat anything in the morning. So through their raising their voice, now they have nutrition porridge every morning before they start a lesson. So this change is coming from their own, from their own children. Also, we discuss real world problems by making sure that what they are learning must be relevant to what is going on in the world. For example, this club members from our school, this is Bongoyo Primary School, we have been working together with Milford-on-Sea Primary School, UK, in a project linked to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 13, climate change, climate action, and Goal 14, life below the water and life on the land, and partnership for goal. So I have the link also of this project which we did with other schools outside of the country. And also community policing, we call it Police Jamii here in Tanzania, was introduced in the Peace Club as initiative to bring together police force with the children together. The aim here, children and the youth get knowledge and skill to prevent and detect crimes. Because sometimes even the children, they can know what bad things happen in the community, so they can be able to go and report it to the police or sometimes to the teachers themselves. Now we have challenges to ensure transformative action through Peace Club. For example, we have an effective peace building platform because Peace Clubs do not accessible to all children. For example, National School, Standard 1 and Standard 2, they finish their lessons at 11:30 a.m., while most Peace Club activities begin in the afternoon around 2:30. So we left behind these children, which are very important for them to learn this peace at a young age. Then slide number 12, the transformative learning to Peace Club can bring conflicts between children and teachers. This happened for those teachers who use top-down approach instead of making a child at the center of learning process. And apart from this one, also there is issues of this we call corporal punishment. You know, in the Peace Club, we encourage teachers not to use corporal punishment because it gives a lot of harm to the children and not give good to the children. So sometimes it's come up with a conflict, say, no, we have to beat them and so on and so forth, for them to be in a good shape. So we are trying our level best to tell them that what they're doing is not good for the growth of the children. Slides, extended learning schedules for the classes, they are going to sit for national exam. We have a challenge also. For example, standard 4 and the standard 7 in Tanzania, there is a national exam. So most of the children, they are not participating in the Peace Club because most of the time they have to go and start for the remedial classes arranged by their class teachers. So it will be a little bit difficult. Another, parents have concern about interaction among learners from different religions. This is because some parents, they think that maybe LTLT exhibits the bleeding of two or more religious belief system into a new system, which is not true. Others, they do understand, while others they don't understand. So they thought maybe through coming together to the children with a different religious background, and we teach them the value, the ethics, you know, what is good, what is bad. Because in every religion, even in Christian and in Muslims, they all teach about good things. For example, in Islam, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Ahibban nas ma tuhibbul nafsik." And you have to like something. You must like something happen good to you and to other people. The same to the Christian, love your neighbors as love yourself. So we give them this knowledge to the children so that they can change, and it helps a lot. Another scarce resource for children and youth in the Peace Club's activities. We have a very limited resources. As you can see in the picture there, I'm here with my children. There are some of the children from the Peace Club with only one laptop. That laptop belongs to me, and they have to share together. So it's a little bit challenge. So thank you so much for listening. That is the end.
Thank you.
Of my presentation.
Yes, thank you, Badru. Thank you for your sharing us your experience, and even the slides are very beautiful, and we really enjoyed looking at the pictures and how it's practical at the ground. Thank you very much, Badru. Now I will leave the floor for our chat moderators, Nikki and Jose. If there is any question or reflection from the chat, the floor is yours for the next 25 minutes, but you can we can do the question, and we can ask the panelists to answer some of the questions in the middle. Then we go to the second round of the questions to make sure that we have available time for panelists to respond. Thank you, and Nikki and Jose, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jerusalem. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Please proceed.
So we had a few questions, not many, but I thought I'd open this up to the panelists in general. Okay. So let's see. So we have one question here which says, so I believe this was from Ruth. So how can a teacher like me in Zambia with an organization have also introduced peace clubs in schools, for example? So, so I guess this question would be, let's open this up to everyone in this case. So how can a teacher, in this case from Zambia, introduce, let's say, peace clubs in their local context? I'll open this up to everyone.
Nikki, maybe we can have a few questions and then respond to them together. So if we can highlight.
Sure. Why not? So we have one specifically about launching peace clubs. Then the other one is in regards to, I believe this was your presentation, Suchit. So, so if you mentioned in this case, obviously the right poems, songs, etc. An interesting question was, so in the case that children are asked to sort of participates in these events, songs, poems, dramas, etc. Obviously, in this case, they'll be organized already by another, by an adult in this case. The question was then, so how do we sort of integrate child participation so that it isn't just children following the instructions of adults, but sort of how do we integrate them through the entirety of the process?
Okay,
So
thank you,
those,
Nikki.
so those were the two main questions. So
Okay,
I think I'll pass
great.
that on.
Thank you, Nikki. I think the first question seems directly to Badru, but any of you can also come in and respond after Badru reflect on this first question on the Peace Club issue, and the second question looks for more for Suchit and of course the other panelists, especially Annette, can also respond to these questions. And while they are responding to that, maybe Jose, if there is any question, especially from our French speakers, please you can organize that one for the second round. And thank you. And the floor is yours for Badru.
Yeah, thank you so much. How can I create a peace clubs? You know, according to Tanzanian context, we always work. For example, me myself, I work with GNRC Tanzania. They are the one who are under us. So whatever program they are doing, we are doing under them, under very serious supervision. And of course, I don't know in other countries, but in a very simple way, the Peace Club, you can just open and ask maybe permission from whether it's from those who are in charge in that particular area. Just tell them what you are doing is good for the children, what you are doing is good for the youth, what you are doing is good to the community. And I think they can understand and give the opportunity to start. You know, you must have your own passion of doing that things, and I think everything will be okay.
Okay, thank you, Badru. And Suchit, would you mind to respond to the second question? And I will ask also Annette to add on that. And
Yes,
Lucy, I saw your hand, but I will come back to you later. Please go ahead, Suchit.
Yes, about the question in terms of the participation, often the event is already decided. So yes, when the event is decided that it's a musical activity that they need to do, then you can consult them within that. But I think from my calling is then we need to just not just do the events planned by adults. We need to think more deeply about why are we doing these events and what are the actual purpose of this. Often they are just a calendar event, or they are to appreciate some outsider or some felicitation. But I think we need to think of these events as learning processes as well, and connect them to the discussions we have about social issues, and make sure that there is something more than what we usually do happening. So I think my call for participation is that higher level of participation, not just thinking of the event and yes, they decide what song to sing, not at that level. It's the whole imagining of why are we having this event, what is it's going to serve, what social problems are we going to address through this, how are we going to bring transformation in our school, in our community through this event. I think those questions being given, the learners being given the space for that is, I think, what is truly transformative. So I hope that responds to the question.
Thank you very much, Suchit. And Annette or Manna, would you like to reflect on that?
No. Hello?
Okay, yes, Annette? Yes, so, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, first of all, for us where there are some units that are focusing specifically on peace, and where the teachers have been taken through transformative pedagogy, through your topics, you make sure that some activities that you give to the learners are gearing towards the building of peace. For example, you tell them now, we would like you to go and prepare a script or prepare a role play. You're going to focus, we are having learners in the group, we are going to have a parent, we are going to have parents will have mother, father, we'll have the community around, and we want you to bring out this drunkard person, comes back at home when he's chaos, he's bringing chaos, and then another child in the home is going to come talking to the father of how that chaos can spoil their family and why we should not have it, and all being brought in the skit or in the role play. If it is a poem, you tell them still the same story. For them, they go out there and they will give you all the creativity that you want that is geared towards building peace in that community. That's how we approach it in Uganda.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Annette. And Jose, is there any other question you captured?
I see there's one here that just got posted in the chat by Waka Chakriak. So the question is quite interesting. So it says, how can one in this case, a teacher, ask the parent to allow their children to participate in peace clubs in conflicted zones, such as states like South Sudan or other conflicted areas? And what examples can be shown to demonstrate the relevance of peace clubs? So I guess in this case, the question really looking at the dynamics between children and parents and how to engage parents with accepting or encouraging peace clubs.
Doctor.
Yes, Annette.
I just wanted to inform Nike that in such a case, for us, first of all, we have what we call open days. These open days are meant to actually pass information to the community, passing through the drama. Like I have said, the parents are invited on a given day, and all the classes, we involve all classes because we want at every level, they have activities that are communicating, that are helping the community to understand what it means to live in a peaceful community. What does the peaceful community contribute towards the school, the achievement of the school? How do they support the learners and how do they support the teachers? So these levels from lower class to upper class, they are all given areas of focus, which they will bring out either in the form of a poem, in the form of a song, dances, or role plays. So, for example, if you think you want to educate parents that clubs are very important, then these learners bring out a song in that form. They explain that to the community when they are at school. They are invited to the school for that purpose. I don't know, DK, I don't know that.
Yes, thank you very much, Annette. Yes, it's really a very good example that you have brought, and thank you very much for your reflection. And Manna, do you want to say something?
أنا لدي تجربة مماثلة لأنيت ولكن
Yes, I have another example just like Annette, but actually on the level of CSOs, not inside schools. Usually when we ask learners to join us, especially those in the primary school, so from 5 years old up to 12 years old, to join us in the activities related to peace building, we should have approval of their parents. And actually sometimes we have a huge ratio of opposal from the parents for their girls or boys to participate in these activities. So here conduct something called the peace camps. These kind of peace camps, the target having some activities to train and educate parents and kids, both of them in parallel on peace building. And here we actually take into consideration the age categories, and also we have some activities to get those parents to know the passion and interest of their sons and daughters. So it helps to have a better and stronger connection and communication between parents and sons. programs. And also we have a communication networking with the tolerance construction or these principles that we want to put in place. So it helps us, these peace camps, they help us to have parents and children who already have their own principles of peace and tolerance. So this help parents to know exactly what we do in these peace camps. Subsequently, when we ask them to send their sons or daughters to get trained in future activities or future ceremonies, so they will have this understanding for what we will do. Also, we consider in our activities to take more than 1 day to make sure that we will have those parents with us for these couple days events, to make sure that we have better selected advocates of interactive and physical sessions to those sons and daughters along with their parents. So we get them into singing, we get them into involvement with the groups related to other energetic activities to make sure that it's not something just boring. And we usually receive very positive feedbacks actually for these practices.
Manna, and I will give the floor for Suchit, and then I will come to Joyce and Ruth because their answers are up for quite long minutes. So my apologies, but once Suchit responds, I will give the floor for Joyce and Ruth. Suchit, do you want to add something on this question, especially on how to engage parents and children in conflict zones?
Thank you, Dr. Jerusalem, for the question and opportunity. Waka Chakriak as well for asking this question. I think conflicts affected settings, there's two concerns maybe parents have. One is a concern about safety of children, maybe staying after school. These aspects of whether they will be safe is one concern that maybe parents have. A second might be, are they going to engage with the other community, whoever they might be? If there's a conflict divide, what is this engagement with the other community? They might have concerns, reservations about that. So in that situations, I am thinking that it's important that the Peace Club becomes a safe space, first of all, from where the community is, right? So if the schools are separated at this point, if the communities have their own schools, maybe then initially you don't attempt to mix the groups in the Peace Club. So you work with different peace clubs within the different communities so that you are not forcing them to right away mix together. And that might make the process easier for the parents and make it more comfortable for the communities to accept. You can also build the acknowledgement or the buy-in from the community. Maybe you invite a community leader to be the patron of the school peace club. So by bringing the patrons and the community leadership to acknowledge the importance of the peace club, you get another level of endorsement for the peace club that supports the parent in that way. And then I'm thinking also that gradually you can, as the activities happen later on, when the trust from the parent is there, you bring the different communities together and do activities like of that nature. The other part, I think also for parents that is very important is that they see the education of their child and the skills being developed. So if you can showcase that the Peace Club is a place where they are actually improving their skills, whether it's presentation skills, whether it's other types of skills, that there is something tangible that the learners are getting out of the Peace Club activity, not just singing songs, but something that maybe is supportive for their educational activities as well. So then parents will acknowledge that and maybe will be more accepting of those opportunities, whether it's in a conflict setting or otherwise as well. So these are some ideas of how to handle the sensitivities in a conflict setting. I hope they are useful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Suchit. And it's really important always to consider the aspect of safe space in this kind of conditions. And maybe after I give the floor for Joyce and Ruth, I may come back to you and to consider also to reflect on from the perspective of different ethical issues when it comes to areas like sensitive areas like conflict or other issues. So Joyce, shall I give you the floor for now? Please take the floor, Joyce. Joyce? Okay, Ruth. Ruth?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello,
yes,
hi everyone. Okay,
Yes,
hello.
sorry.
Yes, I'm Joyce.
Yes, sorry,
Joyce
Ruth.
speaking.
Let us give the floor for Joyce and I will come back to you. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
Joyce,
I
please proceed.
just
Yes.
want to raise up two issues. First of all, I want to add up where Suchit has just ended to work on with children who are coming from conflicted background. It is good, as Suchit proposed, that we can work with them in different groups according to their context, and maybe in the future they will come together after learning the values. Suchit did not want to maybe to talk about this learning to live together toolkit manual. Is very handy for bringing children together, even in grown-ups. But if we work with the children alone, about peace clubs and living together, living beside their parents, then it won't work out. They will join us in the schools or in the peace clubs. After going back home, they report, and then we complicated things even more. So it's good to work with them separately in the beginning. This manual is very handy to mold the habit of the children, to reduce prejudice, because as human beings, we all have our basic rights. So if we work with them separately, you learn them, you ask them actually, what are your rights? They mention them. And after mentioning them, then you ask them, okay, how do you feel if someone did that maybe bad thing to you? And then they will say, I won't feel good, I will be disrespected and so forth. Say, okay, how do you think you will feel if you do the same to another person? I will feel bad. So through that, they will come to know that, okay, if I go through this, I feel bad. So it is the same way to another child of different religion, of different culture, and so forth. So later, you will come to join the clubs. That is how we have been doing, though we don't have that context in our country, but we have different religion. So we try to make them understand and respect other people's religion. We base on those 5 values: the respect, the 4 or 5: respect, empathy, responsibility. If you understand something, then you need to be responsible of doing the reconciliation that is neutralizing the prejudice. That is how we do about this. So when we invite the parents to school, through school committees, they come as a representative. Then they introduce what the children does and what makes them come together, and they interact without minding about their differences. So the parents understand, and the parent committee in school includes the religious leaders, teachers representatives, and parents representatives, and also some children. So they can portray or demonstrate what they do at school, and if parents finds it to be so good for both the children and the school environment and themselves. That is, I wanted to add up to suit it. But when it comes to a sister who asked about starting Peace Club in Zambia, first of all, we need to consult the authorities, because the schools are under education, Ministry of Education or whatever authorities that is. So you are allowed to work with the school children. When you are allowed, then you need to go there and consult the school authority. You introduce about peace clubs and the idea behind it, and then the children will be invited to listen to us. After listening to us, then we encourage those who are interested to join to peace clubs, who are motivated, they will join, and then we can register them. After registering them, then we have like visiting them once a week or once a month. We use this book, The Learning to Live Together, to teach them about the values as human beings. Through that, there are some games. Those games always bring them to the senses of, today I learned this. This thing is good because it brings development for all of us. It brings peace. It brings this and that, the positive things. So they note down. Next time they learn through activities, another game. Again, after finishing the activities of 40, 45 minutes, they write down in their learning log what they have learned on the particular day. In the long run, you come to realize that you have changed some children's behavior and they learn to live together. They encourage social cohesion. They do things together because the manual has two models. The first one is about knowing yourselves and knowing others. After that, the second module is about working together with the others to transform the world. So if they go through that, definitely the children will come together no matter what the difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Thank you for bringing this very rich experience, and that's why we really encourage people to share us, to suggest us theme for this kind of webinar, and also to recommend people to share their experiences. Thank you very much, Joyce. And Rose, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I wanted to contribute on how well we can engage the parents in peace clubs or peace building programs. In Zambia, on Monday, I was on the radio station where we were discussing cyberbullying and how it disturbs the peace of the youth as well as the learners in schools. So I think promoting or strengthening the radio programs as well as TV programs where we can discuss with a larger group of people through making calls. They would make calls and make contributions on their opinion concerning their opinions on peace and peace building in Zambia. It could be a good idea as well, because most of the people do listen to radio programs as well as they also have time to also watch programs on TVs or televisions. That would be a very good idea or way of engaging parents in peace clubs or peace building. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. And Suchit also shared to us on the chat the link that we can find different materials on the issues that we have been talking now. And Jose, do you have any questions on your hand or?
Yes, Yero, thank you to pass the floor to me. Nikki has gone through the questions, and in the chat I can see that no French-speaking participant has raised a question. Meanwhile, my attention has been kept by this comment from Aisatu Hane while Dr. Nena was presenting. She said that we find a solution to correlate transformative pedagogy with our numeric and inclusive language program. So this for me is very interested. So I would like maybe herself, Aisatu, to elaborate a bit more on this experience, and maybe Dr. Nena can also develop how this has been done and the success of this experience. So this what kept my attention in the chat. Thank you. Over to you, Jerusalem. Waiting for our colleagues to share on this.
Okay. Do you want Saitu to explain more on the issue that she raised, or?
Yeah, if possible.
Okay. Okay. I think the person speaks in French. No, Jose, would you mind?
No.
Okay.
Anyway, the question is the comment is in English. So I don't know if she's
okay.
French
Okay,
speaking.
great. Okay, okay. So she can answer to you. Can reflect on that. Eyes too. Okay. Okay, maybe we give the floor for Menna to if she has any comments on that.
Aisatu may have left, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry,
okay. Menna, do you have any reflection on this? So
I couldn't get the question actually in a correct way. My internet connectivity is very bad. I'm so sorry.
Jose, can you briefly?
Yes, not really a question. I would like if Aisatu was on board, maybe she would have elaborated more on this experience, because she said they have they find a solution to correlate transformative pedagogy with their numeric and inclusive language program. So this for me looks like a useful experience to share. So if she was on board, she would have shared with us. This was my concern. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jose. And maybe
she has sent a message. Maybe she's around. You can try.
Asetu, would you like to go ahead? I see your hand.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Deeply sorry.
No problem.
Connectivity.
No, please.
So according to what I told you, I'm a president of pedagogy associations, and we have a program, secondary and middle programs, like competitions that we focus about the programs with correlate numerics. And now at Odyssey Orange Digital Center in Dakar, and submit the project here. And they, according to the training that I received, I decided to correlate the programs with numerics, and we will discuss about many topics. And now we plan to have a platform that includes language, the most local language that we have, and the language, the international language, the first international language that we have. And that's allow the community that will join the platform to discuss about many topics like the educational, transformative educational programs, like topics about the agriculture, about general culture, about language, about inclusive programs. That's what we have.
Okay, thank you very much, Asaitu. And it seems that now we are almost close to the 2 hours of our session, and not to keep you long, I will close on time. And we have so many takeaway points really from this very engaging webinar, and I have captured a lot of points, but I will just simply mention some of the very important points that we took note on this webinar, that's the importance of recognizing the children participation and recognizing that children have their own experience, interest, and potential to do something. And there was an issue of, the asset-based approach which focused on the strengths of an individual and available resources, as well as the community values and assets, which is really a very good approach that we can implement on the ground, and the importance of the higher participation than the lip service kind of participation, which is very important for peace building also, and considering different ethical issues in schools, and the aspect of role modeling, the small initiatives in the community, like the peace clubs. And interestingly, also, Badru mentioned about the community policing to detect and prevent crime and abuse. And we also discussed on the children and parents in a conflict situation and how to involve them, and the importance of safe space, and also the importance of understanding or being aware, and solving the aspects of prejudice, biases, and attitudes that we have around our differences and diversities. And I have also seen the aspect of engaging different stakeholders. It was put as a comment, but I really agree with this issue of engaging other stakeholders other than the education sector for this kind of engagement, which we are trying to create. And thank you also for the comment that we need also to invite other sectors to be part of this webinar processes. And there is also an aspect of cyberbullying, and which I think we might address in our next month's webinar, when we do the aspect of sensitive issues, or when we talk about the hate speech and countering violent narratives in the media. And I can also see now different texts are coming, and I wish we have time and we engaged all these questions, and there is an aspect of language programming that's actually mentioned by Suchit. So thank you very much for creating this kind of an environment that we can discuss and enrich our experiences. And as you can see, all of us have our own experience, and when we come together and we can work for a better solution for the learners, especially for the young learners. Today we keep the group picture towards the end, and we did it purposely just to check the temperature of the participants. So if all of us are happy, we will put our video on, and we clamp for our participants, for the interpreters, for the moderators, and for the IT support. And if we are not happy, you are most welcome to provide your suggestions, comments on how to improve this webinar. And of course, you are most welcome to be also a presenter and also to propose topics for the future webinars that we are going to present. So if you are happy, please put your video on and let us take a group picture, and so that we will have a warm departure once we greet each other and once we thank each other. And Suchit, who's taking the picture? Nikki?
Yes, I'll be taking care of that.
So let us put our video on and let us take the group picture all together with the happy faces if we are satisfied. If we are not happy, just let us know on how to improve and how to create a safe and happy learning environment or platform for ourselves also in the future. And thank you, I really thank you, all the participants, the panelists, the interpreters, and the IT support who are always our backup. Thank you very much, and thank you, Salu, thank you, Dr. Yimiku, thank you, Orit, for joining from AU, and all of you, thank you very much. Yes,
thank you for the excellent moderation.
Thank you very much, Salu, and we can greet to each other, and this is a time that we can link the person with the voice with the person, the picture. So please put your video on and let us take the group picture.
The interpreters
can see Abu Bakr and yes, Suchit.
I was inviting the interpreters.
Yes, okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. Asante.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manna. Thank you very much. Shukran. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jerusalem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you,
Be
everyone.
safe. See you next month.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yes.